Hey, hello, and welcome to Conversations with the Voice of Reason. I'm your host, Benjamin Boyce, and today's conversant is Pamela Garfield. She is a erstwhile social worker, and she was teaching social work, and she was in the belly of the beast, so-called, the most wokest of woke of all of the studies that one can practice as a sociologist, where the rubber meets the road, that is, fixing society of its various ills. And in this conversation, we talk about her gradual red pilling as she discovered that the progressive wish to better the world was actually facilitating the tyrannical takeover of various aspects of human beings' lives while not necessarily living up to its promises. Pamela's also got a book, beautiful book, that challenges gender ideology on a preschool or childhood level. The book is titled Froggy Girl, and you can find that via the links below, as well as links to support this channel. Without further ado, here is Pamela Garfield. So, a children's book.
Yeah, I wrote a really fun children's book.
Why would you do such a thing? What prompted that?
Oh, well, I mean, in general, I would like to put more things in the zeitgeist, right? That are of a message that children should accept themselves for who they are and, positive messages. I think what prompted me to do it, something I've always kind of wanted to do, but what really motivated me was I published that other book, The Practical Response to Gender Distress, Tips and Tools for Families. I did that book for parents, and one of the categories on Amazon it was popping up on was LGBTQ for teens, like teen for the letters. And
Yeah.
my book was sitting next to all of these egregious, disgusting, perverted books about being born in the wrong body and, hypersexualized, just some nasty books, right? It was almost surreal to see the book that I wrote just sitting next to them. Like that I Am
Hmm.
Gay book, which really sounds innocuous in the title if you're okay with gay people, but inside it's really disgusting. It's not just about accepting yourself as gay if that's what you are. It's really nasty. Trying to think of the others, like a lot of the Jack Turban book was there. It's just a lot of those awful books. I can't even think of them right now, but just so many of them. And I was just watching it, like, because I would sit there and see. I did a little stalking of my book in the rankings. Like I would get excited when it would end up being on like number one in the category. Ooh, look at that! Yay! A lot of our books that, people you and I know are in that category. Like Miriam Grossman's book would be sitting next to mine. Abigail Schreier's book, the three of our books would be there in that category. And then we'd have all the nasty books right next to it. So I'd see
Huh.
that and just over and over again. And then I'd see so many in general. There's even more than, we hear about the the influencers or, the media will focus on certain books like genderqueer, which we know is terrible. But there's so many out there, so many almost nameless ones. It's crazy how many there are.
Hmm.
Um, and so I decided, well, maybe I'll write a book. And I woke up one day with these rhymes kind of coming up through my head that
Yeah.
are now in this book that got more tailored. And there once was a girl who said she was a frog, not a chicken, cow, cat, or dog. Oh, and then um, it just went from there. And first, I was just going to have an artist from Fiverr, which is that website where you just find freelance artists and such.
Yeah.
But the one that I was going to use actually just completely flaked. And then I
Well,
went to
they
that.
only cost you $5, so at least there's that.
Right. Yeah, they were cheap. And that's what I paid for was so cheap that they flaked. I got my money back, but I lost time and a lot of
Yeah.
frustration. And then I ended up connecting with a detransitioner to be the artist for my book, Nicholas Blooms. Do you know him?
Hmm.
Has he been on your podcast? If he hasn't been, I think you should have him. I
Well,
think you'd
maybe I'll
like
have
him.
them on.
I think you'd like him. I mean, you would like him for sure. He's great. Uh, I got to know him last year. We all were at the AAP conference together. I don't know if you heard the story. We went to the AAP conference together.
American
It
Academy of Pediatrics.
Pediatrics.
Yeah.
Yes. So the child doctors. We went there and we had some great conversations with doctors. We were kind of covert a little. Um, just saying we were a coalition of mental health professionals. That was not a lie. And I am a mental health professional. And I was there with January Littlejohn, who is also a mental health professional. And then Chloe Cole was there, Soren Aldako, is that how you say her last name? Soren, and Nicholas, and Aaron Friday. And we were all there and we were having these very calm conversations with with the doctors. We weren't there to be antagonistic. If there was someone there that was really passionate about the subject matter, we just didn't argue. We just said, okay, we were trying to reach the people that just really hadn't heard about the subject matter, hadn't really thought about it much. Just mentioned the cast review and some of the harms, and then of course the detransitioners told their stories, and
Hmm.
then I talked about some of the clinical implications of not addressing underlying issues, lots of things that I think most of your audience knows about. So I don't even feel like I need to reiterate it all. Um, but then on the last day, we all got kicked out, and we didn't do there. There was no explanation, none.
Oh, you weren't endangering anybody with
N-
your
No, I know
speech.
I look dangerous, right? No, we're not endangering anyone. And we weren't confrontational either. We didn't really want to get into fights. We didn't want to pick fights. We weren't there to debate. We weren't there to like puff our feathers. We weren't really doing that, We weren't trying to. And so it was a 3-day conference. We were doing really well. The first day we were a little more subtle. We weren't as obvious about like gender being our main source of our main topic. We talked a lot about in general about, and it really overlaps, just how mental health has become very medicalized, how we're instantly slapping labels on. We talked a lot about the surveys that they're doing in medical clinics, especially for children. They automatically get a depression survey, there an anxiety surveys, and what are maybe some of the costs of that? What are the
Mm.
problems with that? And how that could lead to a diagnosis that's false, and how that could be misconstrued if it's self-report. And we talked a lot about that, and a lot of the theme among those doctors was they were struggling. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to refer kids, not just about gender, but just about a lot of different mental health issues. A lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of suicidality, a lot of like ADHD type things, cognitive issues, really a lot of family issues. And they didn't know where to turn, and they were really grateful to talk to us. It was positive. So, and the gender thing just sort of overlaps with, I think, the bigger theme of not really addressing underlying issues
Hmm.
and trying to find a
Well,
quick
is it
fix.
is
Yeah,
it not addressing underlying issues, or is it scraping the bottom of the barrel for what we think of as health and
that
trying
too.
to trying to get to, there's something wrong, so we have to fix this thing, rather than, we have to be hands-on. We have to have our labels, our pills, our interventions, because
Mhm.
there's nothing else to intervene on.
Yeah, I mean, we know anybody here, I think that's listening would know that gender affirming care is the opposite of care. It's maybe gender affirming, but gender
Hmm.
affirming anti-care. Harm to the body. If we're talking about physical doctors, at least, they're not helping them physically, regardless of what you believe. Even if you believe someone's born in the wrong body, you're not helping their body. So it's kind of strange to think about if you're a doctor,
Hmm.
that you think that's okay to give them cross-sex hormones that are going to create health issues. Like you're giving them uh, illness. Here you
Yeah.
go. I'm
So
a
how
doctor
did
giving you
you
illness.
how did you stumble upon the gender topic, and why did it pique your interest and become important to you?
Well, um, a few things. I was on disability. I had a health issue in 2000, the end of 2016 into 2017, and that went on through 2020, 2021. I finally got back to work after,
So this
it's
isn't
not,
some nebulous anxiety, depression, ADHD, gender therapy question disability. Like, this is a
no,
physical, quantifiable.
I had a physical thing. I'll tell you what it is because I'm not ashamed. And it's funny, some people have heard me talk about this and have reached out to me who have the same condition. It's a very rare condition.
Hmm.
It's called thoracic outlet syndrome. And what that is. Yeah, right? It sounds like
Sounds
I was
kind of
electrocuted or
cool,
something.
actually. Yeah. Sounds like a superpower.
I have thoracic outlet syndrome. Well, it's this I had a very similar odyssey then to teach me that doctors and the medical system is not to be trusted.
Hmm.
I went through a lot of doctors who didn't believe me, thought it was all in my head. They put me immediately on antidepressants, although I have no history of mental health issues in my
What were
chart
the
and just didn't.
symptoms, if you don't mind?
Sure. So my symptoms were extreme nerve pain. So what it is
Huh.
what it really was my bones were crushing on my nerves and my blood vessels. So my first rib, like your top rib, I'm pointing at, for those who are on audio, but I'm pointing right, yeah, right above by near my shoulder. It's called your brachial plexus, that area where you're touching. And so all the area of the brachial plexus was compressed. And so it was causing all kinds of really shooting down nerve pain down my
Hmm.
arms, into my hands. I basically, it mimicked carpal tunnel for a while, but it was intermittent because it's dependent upon your position and your activity. So it came on from a poor ergonomic setup at the
Hmm.
job I had at UCSF. But I think now that my workers' comp settlement is okay, I can admit that I think underlying that was also the fact that I was an athlete, I was a swimmer, and I did kickboxing and martial arts, and it comes from repetitive upper body motion type movements and sports. Also, people who work in like construction or do things where they have to repetitively lift their arms above their head, it happens
Hmm.
to them.
Okay.
It happens to weightlifters. So it's a repetitive stress injury, is what it is.
So
But
what's the thoracic part? Is that
thoracic,
thorax? Thorax?
thoracic. So your
Yeah.
thoracic spine is impacted. Um, it's your thoracic cavity. And a thoracic surgeon is actually who helped me. She actually went in and removed that top rib. I should have brought it for the for your audience
Oh,
to show you.
cool.
I
You kept it
have
as a
a
trophy.
I got the rib. They mail it to you if you request it. It and only a very few doctors in the entire world can do this surgery. So people who are in socialized medicine systems cannot get this surgery. So people from Canada and the UK, especially, I was on these Facebook groups who I would talk to them who would pay anything to get to see
Hmm.
one of these doctors that could do this surgery because you could go to a regular doctor and get it and basically they will butcher you. It'd be worse. It's a
Oh,
really
so it's very
sensitive area.
precise.
It's
Yeah. Okay.
very, very precise.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky to have eventually found the proper doctor and had the insurance to cover that through my UC. I was working for UCSF at the time, and so was able to use their insurance. And I got the surgery at UC Davis in California.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I went through all of that, but I went through years of them not believing me. It got much worse because the longer the nerves get compressed, the more damage you acquire. And it was severely painful. I basically lost my ability to function in society. I completely dropped out of society. I couldn't go out to eat. I could barely, like, sitting up was painful. Like sitting while I'm talking to you on this
Yeah.
couch, I couldn't have done that. I would have been gritting my teeth.
How
Uh,
long were you that convalescent?
I'd say about 3 years. I was
Wow.
I was really in a lot of pain every
What
day. It
were
was
you
just like,
able to do? How did you entertain yourself or stimulate your
yeah, it was really
obviously
tough.
highly
And
needing of stimulating mind?
it was really tough. The one thing I was able to do was walk. And so I went on a lot of walks with my dogs.
Yeah.
If the earlier part got cut out to audience, my dog just died.
Yeah.
But so that's why I'm tearing up and sounding weird. Anyway, so I've walked my dogs and spent a lot of time with my dog. Oh, shit.
It's okay. It's fine.
That's really what I did. I was this very like high achieving social worker, licensed supervisor. I was supervising all these up and coming therapists. I was working at UCSF. Um, but I had to drop out of all that and I became a dog walker. Like, yeah. And I would bring my dog, who got along with all the other dogs. So I had a small little customer base where I just would walk these little dogs. I couldn't walk a big dog because I couldn't really hold a leash
Okay.
on a dog that had to pull it anyway. So I only could do little dogs that didn't pull.
Was this humbling or frustrating to you because of you're so high performing? I'm sure you had
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
ambition, and that ambition being thwarted. How did you deal with that?
Oh yeah, it was a lot. I actually like was proud of myself that I was able to kind of deal with that and like I mentally, despite all the pain and all the grief, I did a really well in terms of like having gratitude for what I could do and just always
Hmm.
finding something I could do with myself. Okay, are these tears showing through the freaking
No,
thing?
your camera's very potato. It's not going to show up.
Okay.
It's in your
Um,
voice though, which is
yeah.
endearing.
I'm usually really cheery people who are just maybe hearing me for the first time. Anyway, yeah, it was very humbling, but at the same time, maybe it was like a new way to quote unquote perform to like work through it,
Okay.
right? It was a new way
Yeah.
to say like I can do this. So I had that in me. I'll find a way. Yeah, I go for walks. Um I was holding a little, that's how I learned Instagram. I was doing little pictures when I could hold my phone and take pictures with my phone. Sometimes it would just hurt my hands too much to grip my phone. But I would take, I actually had a little, it's still there. I had a little Instagram page called Kaya and Guinness. That's the name of my dogs.
Hmm.
And my dog became actually a little Insta famous. She, she was in some commercials and such.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
she's a little famous. She was in a commercial. I lived in California in the Bay Area, so she was in a commercial for a pretty famous Bay Area vet company called Sage Veterinary. And she was in on the social media for Earth Rated, which are like the green doggy bags. For anybody who's a dog owner, probably is familiar with them. And the Zippy Paws, which is a pretty big dog toy company. So that's what I did. I became kind of a show mom for my dog.
Yeah. And so this is 2016, 17, 18,
18,
19.
19.
Okay.
Then 20, I had the surgery in 2000. I had two surgeries actually. So I had the first surgery in 2018, and then I had a complication, not really, just a lot of scar tissue that built up.
Hmm.
And so I had to have a redo. So they went back in into the end of 2019. So November of 2019, Christmas of 2019 was maybe the most painful Christmas I've ever experienced in my entire
Hmm.
life, physically anyway. And then I thought, well, 2020 is going to be a good year.
Yeah. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
And well, we all know what happened then. But I actually started to fundraise and I planned to run the New York City Marathon that year.
Okay.
And I was, because I was able to run. I finally got back to running. I wasn't able to run with this for a while because the kind of the jolting of that hurt that part of my body, but then I got strong enough that I was able to run. And so that was a really big deal for me to be able to run again. So I started to train for that. And then, it got canceled. They went woke and
So
and I just, yeah.
you were in University of California, San Francisco,
Hmm.
UCSF, that's what it stands for, up until your convalescence in 2016. So this is the most liberal of liberal places.
Yes, I was in the
But
belly of the beast.
was it was it wokening at that time? I'm sure it was already more or less hyper progressive, but you taking the time off of that particular era when things
Hmm.
go full woke, I'm wondering if you just disconnected and you didn't
I had no
expect what would.
idea. That
Okay.
was it. That was my thing. And that's actually the first chapter. And even the pinned Substack is my Rip Van therapist story. I don't know if you've seen
Mm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
first chapter of my book talks about my Rip Van Winkle story, exactly what you just described. Because, yeah, for between the years 2016 and 2021 were the years that all of this, obviously gender, you
Yeah.
asked me that at the beginning, but all of it, right? All of the critical theories really took root, or just came to the surface. I guess they took root a long time ago, but they really came to the surface at that
Yeah.
point. Um,
So
and
you
that's
were
when
a
I saw
card
it.
carrying progressive
Yeah.
when at the time you quit? I mean, there's no other way I can conceive of somebody surviving and thriving in that environment without, adopting the priors.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if I'd call myself a progressive, but I certainly was not in any way conservative. Would never have thought about those things. Um, I voted Democrat my entire life up until that point. I was a licensed social worker living in the Bay Area of California,
Mm-hmm.
originally from New York, trained at New York University, back in the late 90s where things were a little different, but still
Mm-hmm.
left-leaning. Um, so yeah, had a major shift. I had my quote unquote red pill in 2020. I swallowed it with the BLM riots
Mm.
and all of my friends and the group that
Where
I was
you were out there, you were picking up a brick, you were about to participate, and before the
no.
brick left your hand,
No, so I never really had an urge to. Well, I'm sitting in front of a mural of bricks here.
it's rainbow bricks too for those who are
Rainbow bricks.
tuning in. So, yeah, it's
It's
no longer
just
Pride Month, so they just mean
it's just
colorfulness.
pretty.
Yeah, it's just pretty, just pretty.
They're just fun and colorful. No, but I was never into being a real activist in that way.
Okay.
And so I think I was probably a sleeping conservative and didn't know it. I was
Hmm.
also my husband is conservative and we were married and had
Always,
always,
always had
yeah,
been. Yeah.
always had been. We just, yeah. And I so many times now I ask him, I'm like, what were you thinking? How could you marry a social worker? You know,
What was your background before college and professional life?
like I'm originally like I was raised in New Jersey. I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
Like
Like Orthodox, Reformed, or just non-practicing?
like
Just
mostly non-practicing, but I'd say the cultural aspect was very much a part of my life because I went to Jew camp, as they say.
oh.
So I yeah, I was raised like most of my friends were Jewish, and I every summer my sleepaway camp experience when I was like a child and even in early teens was like the most important thing to me. Like my camp
Hmm.
friends were the most important to me ever. And then I even did a gap year in Israel when I was 18. So I lived there for a year. I could speak Hebrew pretty well. I have lived with families who are Orthodox, so I have lived in an observant life just alongside them. And so I'm very familiar with the Jewish faith. It's definitely a big part of me. My family is still pretty progressive. I am now the black sheep when it comes to these
Oh.
ideas. Yeah.
Hmm. Was your
Uh,
husband? Is that how you guys connected through the Jewish faith, or?
no, we connected through sports. I was a triathlete. I was actually a swimmer. That's one thing in addition to speaking out about these ideas, I have that in common with Riley Gaines.
Yeah.
I was an avid swimmer. I did long distance swimming. I really like doing open water swimming. I swam from Alcatraz 3 times.
Oh.
I was on a master swim team. I swam like several miles a day. Like I was really into swimming. And then I got into triathlons. We did a team in training where you raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and we joined a team together, and that's how we met.
Hmm.
So we met through sports. Yeah, so of course it's very humbling then when I couldn't, I lost my all of my physical abilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
Wow.
And I really
Yeah.
can't swim like I used to. I can now like go in the splash around in the water, but I can't like go do laps anymore.
Hmm.
It'll just hurt my back and my arms will like get shooting pain or tingles. And I can't work a regular job because I can't really sit at a desk for any period of time without pain. I could do it for a time until I can't, basically.
Hmm.
Like I just actually I'm really proud of myself. I just wrote an article for Human Events and I did a little clap back to the Atlantic Magazine article that they just published, saying how, oopsie, we just missed all of the data. They were, I don't know if you saw
On
that.
the brain scans, trans brain scans, is that
On
the one?
everything. It was in response, it wasn't
Because I know,
responding to that. It wasn't
Because they
referring to
keep
that
on saying,
aspect.
oh yeah, some of us were wrong about COVID. Let's stop pointing fingers. They keep on
Yeah,
like
that
covering up
one.
their progressive
Well,
baloney.
it reminded me of that exactly. That one, like, let's ask for forgiveness. That article. When did that come out? A couple years ago. That one really pissed me off.
Yeah, yeah.
But this time it was. I think the author's name is Helen Lewis, and it's not her first article. She's been poking the bear for a time
Hmm.
about this. So I actually went back and looked at what they've been publishing, and they kind of do on and off, where they say a lot of things that you and I would say that, there's some underlying issues. There's no data to back this up. Let's look at the harms. And then they have another article where they say, you must affirm or they're going to kill themselves. They kind of just play both sides.
Okay.
It's kind of what I've learned about the Atlantic magazine after I did a little research on them. But this one article, it was pretty damning. It said that how leftists or liberals, I'm not sure what word they used, have been in this bubble and we're using.
Yeah, they say conservatives have a misinformation problem, but so do liberals.
Yeah, well, this article was actually calling out the liberals in this
Yeah.
case. But what it was missing was the accountability piece and like how did this happen and what really went on. So I just wrote a little follow-up article. I think it's going to be published in the Human Events about, okay,
Hmm.
so great, you called this out. That was great. You called out a lot of things. Now let's look at why this happened so we can maybe not have it happen again and maybe have some accountability.
Hmm.
And all these people who were harmed, maybe they can actually have some justice. So that was what I just wrote.
Yeah.
Um,
To go back to your red pill moment, it was the BLM riots. Were you in New
yeah.
York at that time?
No, I was in California.
Still in California.
I was in
Okay.
California. I actually left New York in 2003
Okay.
full time. I'd visited a lot because still have family and friends. Well, some of the friends I've unfortunately lost because of all
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
Um, but my cousins still live there, and my parents live in New Jersey. So I visit quite often. But I've been living in California since 2003. I lived in New York during 9/11. I witnessed 9/11,
Hmm.
and that was a tough time for
Yeah.
very different reasons. Yeah, and I had to leave, I think, because I didn't really bounce back from 9/11. So what did I do? I picked up and moved all the way across country to
Hmm.
get away.
Yeah.
And I did have some, whatever you want to call it, trauma responses every year in the anniversaries for about 5 years that happened.
Really?
I would get like this outer body experiences. I'm very lucky. I've never had real trauma in my life. I've had a pretty stable life. But I did witness 9/11 and I did have some of those symptoms because I actually blew out my knee in a ski accident here in California around that time. And I remember looking in the mirror on one of the anniversaries on 9/11, like 3 or 4 years later, and just being totally confused about the body that I was in presently versus the body that I was in on the day of 9/11, because I kind of felt like I was there that day in
Hmm.
2001.
Hmm.
It's very strange. I was like, what is this? Why does my knee hurt? Or because I had injured it in a ski
So a
accident.
part of you was stuck on that day for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Did
I've
it just
since moved
gradually
on.
recede or?
Yeah, I gradually receded. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really tried to do counseling. We could talk about that, but I don't think it really helped me. So I
Hmm.
think it was just more of just moving on and knowing I was safe um,
Hmm.
and also not having, I guess, a complex reaction, just more of a normal, you saw some shit reaction.
Yeah. 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 So in some way you identified with the city of New York, and when it got attacked, you got attacked. I'm wondering if the BLM riots had a similar kind of
Oh,
reaction. You identified with something that got attacked, or?
maybe. Well, I don't know because it was all the cities got attacked, so I don't know if I felt it that way. It
Yeah.
was really more about I felt like it was I was in one of those movies like The Twilight Zone or something, when it was more about the reaction to the riots that bothered me so much. The all the black squares, all of the businesses, even those that don't normally virtue signal that were virtue signaling, the basketball courts with the yellow lettering, Black Lives Matter, every sports thing. I'm not even that big of a sports fan, but just you just couldn't get away from it. I remember I used to, this is embarrassing, but I used to watch The Bachelor as like a guilty pleasure just to escape from things. And then the Bachelor person started talking about, systemic racism and everything. And I remember throwing something on the TV.
Huh. What do you think it was about you that made you resistant to that full throttle propaganda campaign?
I mean, I think maybe part of it is my personality because I'm generally not that much of a follower. I have figured that out. I didn't realize that other people weren't followers. I thought that's just how normal people were. So
Yeah.
now I've learned that more people are followers than I realized. So I think it's partly my personality, but I think it also has to do with the disability circumstances because had my own personal lockdown for close to 4 years. So that lockdown that everyone experienced in 2020 didn't change my life. I was home all the time anyway. I was quite isolated
Hmm.
anyway. I didn't have that abrupt fear response that other people had to me it was like a normal day. And I remember I was on these chat groups with other people with chronic illnesses and chronic pain, and a lot of the themes there were they're trying to tell their friends, "How, welcome to our lives. So you can't go out and do things that you want to do. Oh, so something's canceled and you don't have control over it." Well, that's what we experience all the time. We
Hmm.
can't go plan our birthday parties. We can't go out on
Yeah.
Friday nights. We're in too much pain to do that. And that's what we live all the
Yeah.
time.
And then when the BLM stuff cropped up, did your forums and those groups start to intersectionalize and say, well, we think we have it bad, but black people have it worse because of historical oppression? Is that where it kind of leaked in?
Yeah, so I was on I couldn't swim anymore, but I actually was on this running team. It was funny in the early 2020, I don't know when I joined the team, but it was soon before that. They'd made me like runner of the month, right? Which
Yeah.
was really sweet. And then I watched all the people on my little run team do all these weird they're all white in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And they all started doing that white apology thing, and it was really
Oh.
gross and weird.
Hmm.
One of this woman who I mean it's like I hate it because I like these people, right? They're most of these people are nice. It's not like they're all crazy assholes. They're nice people. I really see them as mostly misguided. But she started posting about how um and she's older, like in her mid 50s, right? And a mom of two, and she's not that stereotype of that college kid with the blue hair. But she started posting about her like remembering at her job in like 2002 how she saw some injustice that really was in her example. I don't remember what it was, but it was really obscure. It wasn't even something that
Hmm. Hmm.
blatant, right? And she was
Did
like,
somebody touch
"Oh,
somebody else's hair?
I don't remember what it was. I think it was
Yeah.
somebody didn't get a job promotion or something like that."
Yeah.
Um, but it was something where it was like, well, can we prove this was about race? No. And maybe if it did happen, it was 20 years ago. What are we even talking about here?
Hmm.
Um, and that was her example. And I was just it was watching the cascade of all these people who I thought were my good friends just be like this. And then I did more reading, and I my dog sitter actually, I never heard of him, but she showed me a little video by Officer Brandon Tatum. And I think he got really, that's really when he got big was during the BLM time because he was talking about how all this systemic racism is a lie and how that this police brutality is a lie and it's conflated. And he would say the statistics and how it's less than 20 people a year in our entire country, between all these encounters. And
Hmm.
he would lay it all out, and it was so cathartic to see all of that. And I posted something that he said or that he did,
Dun dun
and
dun.
I got slammed by
Yeah.
people that knew me since I was a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was painful. And
People are having a collective catharsis, and you peed in their Cheerios.
yeah. Well, this was the most painful part is as I just said, I went through this really challenging time in my life and I was getting these surgeries. They were high risk. I came through them
Yeah.
pretty well and I was very lucky, but they were very high risk. And I was posting about that on Facebook, and I got a handful of responses, hope you do well, I'm thinking of you, and that was nice. But, a lot of people who are your acquaintances, they're probably watching, but they don't say anything. And that's happened to me where I see that about friends and you don't know what to say because you haven't spoken to them in a while.
Hmm.
So that's okay. Wasn't really angry. There were two or three friends who I had really disappointed me that I thought they were going to be there for me, and they weren't. When I was reaching out to them one on one, like, "Hey, I'm struggling," and they were like, "I'm busy," and I was like, "Hmm." And then I
Hmm.
watched those people, one, care so much about their
Ah,
social justice causes that
yeah.
they were too busy to care about me.
Yeah. Huh.
And one of them was my very best friend from New York. She still lives there in Brooklyn, and I don't talk to her anymore. And then my swim team friends, I hadn't spoken to them in a while because, of course, I stopped swimming, and I hadn't heard from them. And then when I did post the wrong thing, my phone started to blow up. I
Oh,
got text messages from them because they thought my Facebook was hacked. So they cared that my Facebook might have been hacked because I was posting the wrong political opinion.
yeah.
But I had been posting about the fact that I hadn't been showed up in practice for years, and I've been posting about the fact that I can't work anymore. I dropped out of my career. I couldn't do much. I had been through two
Yeah.
surgeries and I had heard crickets.
Huh.
So, yeah, I had a lot of a lot of grief, I say.
Yeah.
So when I became the truthful therapist, that was why I was like, I got nothing to lose. I think that's why it was a lot easier for me. So I came from a different mindset than most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, social justice, Black Lives Matter, that leads to gender somehow?
Oh, so I got back to work part-time in San Francisco. It was for no, I'm sorry, that was in San Mateo, California, which is in the peninsula area. It's south of San Francisco. In For Sutter Health, a healthcare company. I was per diem. I was very overqualified for this position because I couldn't do much typing still. So I was a per diem, which is like where you cover shifts for this group therapy program. It was for both teens and adults. But they put me more at the teens because I'm better with teens, and most people don't like working with these teens because they're difficult sometimes. Also, the hours aren't as fun because you have to help them after school. So I was so happy to work. It was so meaningful, right? I thought I'd never get back to work. I thought I'd be on my couch forever. I thought I was going to be almost like an invalid, right? So here I am,
Hmm.
just working this part-time job that I was overqualified for, like over the moon for. But yeah, I got there, and that was where it was just, wow, things are ridiculously crazy. So this is in 2021. We were
Okay.
still required to wear masks. They didn't lift the mask mandate for at least a year or later after I left. But I did have to leave because I chose not to get the COVID vaccine because of everything I had been through.
Oh, yeah.
I had so many medications. They had helped me. They had referred to me to use to help me with nerve pain, and all these medications are just nasty anyway. But I
Hmm.
always had the worst reaction to them, like gabapentin, nortriptyline, amitriptyline. They all made me crazy, or I always had a terrible adverse reaction. They'd make me worse for some reason or another. And they also tried some psych drugs, like some antidepressants, sort of off label to help with nerve pain. Nothing worked or made me worse. So I just had this odyssey of nothing is going to help me, right? And I did finally get better. I came through this. It was like a miracle. I was functional enough to be at this job, to be
Hmm.
upright, to even be able to spend a day around human beings and not just be like, clenching my jaw in pain. So no way was I going to get a vaccine that we didn't know much about. I actually thought I was going to get it later on. I just wanted a little more time. And then my husband got the vaccine. And he was even a little bit making fun of me that I was being so cautious about it.
Hmm.
Not in a bad way, just kind of like,
Yeah.
but he had a terrible reaction, terrible. So I watched him suffer, happily, luckily for both of us. It was temporary, but he really had a terrible reaction. And so then I was like, no way am I ever doing this. And then we both got COVID at the same time soon after when
Yeah.
he was supposed to be in the most like safe window. And he was very symptomatic, just like me. We both got like the horse medicine and we were okay. I was running at the time, so I was very fit. So I've
Mm.
recovered
Hmm.
quite well. And I was fine. I just recovered from COVID. I was still in that window that even the CDC said it's okay to, um, it's okay that you're supposedly safe and that you're not even supposed to get the vaccine. It was like 2 weeks after I had recovered is when Gavin Newsom put down the COVID vaccine mandates. So I wasn't even allowed to get it at the time. But then I couldn't really take on more shifts because then I was honest with them. I'm too freaking honest. I told them that I wasn't going to get it. And so they wanted to give me some extra training to be in the inpatient unit. And I said, well, I don't know if you want to do that if I can't work.
Hmm.
And then I got no more shifts. And that was the end of that.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that blew me up to say, well, now I'm out of that situation. And but yeah, I saw the kids all being trans. And I just couldn't believe it. It was just weird to me. Like still honestly in a bit of a halfway progressive state of mind. But I was like, what the heck is going on? These are just kids that are acting out. They're having mental health issues. They're spiraling. They're feeling out of control. They've been locked down. They've been told to mask up. All these things, right? In
Hmm.
addition to all their mental health issues, some of them had real, like, I don't know how you want to call it, but I'd say like more severe mental health issues where they were having real delusions and real, they weren't just not coping well, right?
Yeah.
They were having some real symptoms, severe anxiety, real paranoia, stuff like that. And the focus was just all on the social justice stuff instead of their treatment. And I noticed, it's this group therapy, and I believe in group therapy, but I felt like this group therapy was probably doing more harm in certain ways because
Yeah.
of the focus was the social justice, and also just always doing the right thing, always having the right script. They would start every group doing the pronouns, and so it was this whole performance of the pronouns, and it wasn't just the kids that had the pronouns, which is about a third of the group. They were all girls.
Hmm.
Um, but it was the other kids that were impacted because they had to say the right thing, or they
Hmm.
had to decide not to say the right thing and deal with the backlash of
Yeah.
that. Either
Yeah.
way, it was just a mess. And I just couldn't believe that this was all encouraged. I remember walking around while I was being trained with one of the other clinicians who I observed her, and she honestly had great skills in the group. But I remember walking around. We went to the adult unit, and I watched her lead an adult unit. And then we went to the teen unit, and I watched her lead a teen unit. As we were walking over to the teen unit section, she said, "Okay, with the teens, we spend every group, and we start with introducing our pronouns." So I said to her, "Huh? Why do we do that with the teens and not with the adults?" You know what her answer was? "I don't know. Never thought about it."
Hmm.
So yeah.
That's hard to believe. I mean, it's pretty obvious why you do it with the teens because it's in vogue for teens and the adults would laugh at it.
Yeah, they didn't think
Huh.
about it. There was a substance abuse track, and these were really severe addicts, right? They're not worried about this stuff. They're worried about staying sober for the day.
Yeah.
They were really dealing with some real heavy things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that job, especially honestly working with those addicts. There's so much gratitude. They really appreciated every day that they were sober. They appreciated
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I give mental health a bad rap, therapy a bad rap, but there are really some really special moments in these treatment programs that
Hmm.
are important. And, it's gotten crept on by all of this madness instead of the
Yeah.
things that people need.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you started to, how did you start speaking out against gender? Like where was where did your
So
rubber meet the road?
the rubber met the road was when I was fired or not given any more shifts, I'd say.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get a medical exemption because I had this medical condition. I really thought I would. So I didn't file for the religious. I wasn't doing it because I was religious. I was doing it because of medical. And I just thought, oh, I'll file a medical exemption. I couldn't get one. No doctor in the state of California or even outside of the state of California could write one for a Californian.
Oh.
So you couldn't get a medical exemption even if you wanted to. Nobody could get one. And there weren't even like extreme reasons. Each doctor was only allowed a certain amount that they were allowed to do before their license got threatened. So I don't know what the number was. It was like we were,
Wow.
yeah.
The depth of the COVID tyranny, I just
Hmm.
have kind of turned away from it.
It
But
was really deep. I mean, honestly, I'm talking about it now because honestly, that's almost more like personally, that was more
the
traumatizing
entire
for me.
system was used to forward a very specific singular
Very,
agenda.
very much. I even
Yeah.
had a frontline doctor that prescribed that ivermectin for me, who I thought was going to write the medical exemption. She was based out of Arizona. I thought she was going to do it. Even she said I can't do it. So a frontline doctor couldn't do it. She was too threatened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
So I couldn't
And
get
talk
that. So
about
I was,
accountability.
yeah. So that's where I was getting disability payments, quite frankly. I didn't need the job. I wanted it
Yeah.
because I wanted to be part of society. I wanted it for, all the reasons you mentioned earlier about I am a high achieving person and it's important to me and it, helped me thrive and I'm good at it, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to be there, but I also they were still masking. That wasn't going away. It didn't go away for more than a year later. I think they lifted it in medical centers maybe April of 2022. So that went on for years. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand wearing a mask in a group therapy setting with people who were really mentally disturbed
Yeah.
that really needed to see faces. And then they became dependent on the masks, not because they really cared about COVID and the fear of that. There's a little bit of that, but not mostly not. It was because they got to hide behind those masks and not
Yeah.
get the benefit of therapy and not see
Yeah.
facial
Yeah.
expressions.
Yeah.
So it went against my grain. And then I was around so many demoralized therapists who had been there throughout the entire lockdowns, right? I was home because of my disability. They were there the whole time. They were grateful that they were able to still be physically in the office because most of those similar programs did it via Zoom. So they thought, and I actually honestly thought it was at least better that they were able to go there in person and provide treatment as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
trying to do, treat suicidal and severely anxious and schizophrenic, bipolar type 1 type patients via Zoom on a group. I mean, what a nightmare. So I forgot the beginning of your question now. Um,
When you got bounced from your job, you put your energy, your intellect.
so then I started because I was honestly so flabbergasted by it. The way I coped was through making Instagram reels. I
Oh,
learned
okay.
Instagram through my dogs
Yeah.
and working with them. And I'm quite creative, and I started making skits and doing funny things to cope with like just basically how I just couldn't, I felt like the world was upside down and I couldn't tolerate it. So that's how I dealt with it. And I got a following quite quickly because that was, I think, at the height of the madness. 2021-ish was really the height where it seemed like, because in 2020, yes, things were really mad, but there was this, I'd say, at least on my end, I thought, okay, things are crazy now, but it's going to calm down,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
once it kept going and it didn't have any end in sight, that's when I started to go a little crazy.
Mm.
And I had to do something about it. And I noticed a lot of people were silenced, but I had nothing to lose anymore. I had lost my career. I had lost a lot of my friends. I was so isolated anyway. Um, I just felt like I had nothing to lose. So I started speaking out. And of course, the gender thing was the most obvious and egregious thing. I mean, at the time, it was both COVID and gender and race. I mean, those were the three main topics that I was focusing on. Now, gender has just really taken over, and it's just continued to get worse through the years where Biden was president. So, I joined forces with a lot of other people that had a similar passion. I also got picked up by Don Johnson. He's a filmmaker, and he did that film Disconnected. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen that film? Daisy
I
was in
don't
it.
believe I've
It was Daisy's
seen it.
film. You had Daisy on your podcast.
Yeah, I've had her on a couple times, a few
You
times.
should watch that. She's so good in
Was
it.
that for PragerU, right?
No, no, it was an
Oh no.
independent. Yeah, she
Okay.
did the PragerU one also.
Yeah.
My guess is they probably chose her because of her performance in the other one.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Disconnected. It's spelled with a Y, so disconnected with a Y.
For
and he's
dysphoria.
for dysphoria,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a play on disconnected from your body and dysphoria. It's
And you
got
were hooked
more.
up with the director.
The director found me. I'd never been on Twitter in my entire life, and I just joined Twitter to be like, "Hey, I'm a therapist, and I see these problems." And he said he tried like 30 other therapists that agreed, but would not put their face out there. And he asked me if I'd do
Hmm.
it, and
Hmm.
I was kind of a last minute addition, and I ended
Hmm.
up being heavily featured in the film.
Wow. The amount of, I guess part of the reason we are not going to see accountability from the tyrants on a variety of these vectors, whether it's gender care or the COVID madness, is because so many people were complicit. They don't want to accept
Hmm.
fault for being cowardly, for keeping their heads down, for going along with this, even though they knew it was wrong, and now see the devastation on a variety of levels, whether it's
Yes.
an entire generation's retardation in a literal sense, academically, or, the fallout from gender affirming care, three words
Hmm.
that all have
Care, air
problems.
quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so then
yeah,
I was in
so
that, and then I was in the other documentary by the Epic Times called Gender Transformation. Have you seen that one or the
no.
promos for that? That one was really powerful. That one is a docudrama, and it tells
Did you
Abigail
say New York
Martinez,
Times? Who produced
the
that?
Epic Times.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no,
Epoch Times. Yeah.
not
Okay.
New
Yeah.
York Times.
Yeah. I was
Although
gonna say. Yeah.
that was a great experience because they had their premiere in New York City. I got to bring my pretty woke mom to the premiere
Hmm.
and she was very supportive. She's a theater lady. It's
Yeah.
funny. She was more focused on the fact that I was on stage because I never go on stage because she's always taken the stage in
Oh.
my
Huh.
life. And she
Yeah.
couldn't believe that she was the one in the audience and I was the one on stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but I do have that ability when I want to. That's also why I think I got a following on Instagram because I did some pretty funny skits and I wore costumes and wigs and I can be funny when I want to be.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was on stage for that. And they did, and I was featured in that film. And in that movie, I talked about my kind of awakening on the gender because in 2015, I was the clinical supervisor at a high school in Palo Alto, California. That's the town where Stanford is. And so they were probably the most progressive of their time then. And that was probably one of the very first secret LGBTQ groups in the country
Hmm.
that I regretfully was a part of. I didn't lead it, it wasn't my idea, but I was just part of the helping it launch. And so I talk about that in the group, in
Yeah.
the, sorry, in
What was?
the film.
Why was it made secret?
It was made secret because as progressives think, this is why it takes one to know one. We think, they think, I did think that we were helping them by helping them deal with their feelings without their judgmental parents getting in the way. And so we thought we were helping them have a safe space. I feel
Yeah.
really, I feel really gross saying all this stuff now. Um,
Was there any concern that you were instigating a wedge between a child and their parents by doing this? Did anybody bring up any like
you
other
know
side
what?
of the fallout?
Not really. You know why? The part of the reason is because that community didn't want that popped as much culturally. They wanted to hand their kids over to us. In general, I was
Hmm.
fighting to get the parents to be involved with their kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Half the
Yeah.
therapy was my parents are too busy and they won't play with
Yeah.
me or hang out with
Yeah.
me. And I was calling their parents saying, hey, I'd love for you to come in and have a conversation and build some better communication with your child. And
But
they
on
weren't, not
yeah.
with that
So
group, but I'm
yeah.
saying the
Yeah.
population
In
at
general,
large.
but you're talking, but also on top of that, you're talking about probably the most gay accepting time and
Hmm.
place in history, and they still need to formulate some sort of secrecy for
Yeah,
safety when
stupid, right?
there's probably every other coffee shop's got several different
Yeah.
sexuality flags blowing in the wind.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference is, and the kids that were in that group, I don't know if they fit this bill, but in general, was a strong immigration, like first generation immigration
Oh, okay.
population
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Uh, because it's very tech heavy. So a lot of people from like Asia, Indian, Chinese that have families that have more traditional points of
Hmm.
view. And so there was that cultural clash between the
That's really
kids.
interesting because, yeah, you are unwittingly the people, these progressives who want to not, to preserve people's cultures, to respect people's cultures, will for the sake of
Yeah.
transition and gender and these certain suspects, aspects of progressive American dogma will completely
Dismiss.
deracinate the individual and
Yeah.
dismiss the cultural heritages. As long as the cultural heritage is clothing and food, it's sacrosanct. But when it comes to actual behavior, it's backwards and needs to be erased and reprogrammed.
Yeah. So, and I'm not even sure how those individual families would react to that. But that was there was so the other cultural piece of Palo Alto was the high achieving culture there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of Chinese families, a lot of Indian families, where academia is really important. Going to college is really important. There were kids that were literally saying they were suicidal if they didn't get into Stanford, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not, not hyperbole. They really, their lives would be over. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, a lot of times, the parents would say, "We're okay. It doesn't matter." If the kid would put that pressure on themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that was the culture there. But most of my therapeutic work when I was working in that school or my focus was trying to get the parents and the children to connect. And I wasn't trying to push any kind of cultural value judgment on them. It was more about having the kid and the parent talk to each other about what each of them
Hmm.
believed in so that they could communicate and, connect. That was
Yeah.
really what I was doing as myself. That group, I wasn't even leading it. I wasn't out the therapist. But what I was a part of was helping recruit for it.
Hmm.
I would just
Recruit students or faculty?
students. It was so secret. The
Yeah.
faculty knew that the group was going on, but they didn't know when or where. Even the administration of the school.
Okay. How
That's
would
how
you
secret it
recruit?
was.
How
So we
would you
put up
sniff out the gays? Did you have like a
we had
preternatural
signs.
gaydar? Okay, you
No,
had
we put
signs. All
up
right.
signs and said,
Signs
"Come
and
to our
portents.
office."
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about this in that documentary. So we put up signs and it said, if you would like to explore these issues without any interference,
Hmm.
come to our office. Well, and
Interference, like as in morality, as in
mm,
any sort
so
of.
just someone to tell you that you're like something's wrong with you or that shame you or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's the boogeyman of the leftists, right? There isn't really anything specific.
Yeah, the Christian showing up and telling you not to sodomize your
Yeah.
neighbor is a very deep fear of theirs. They even make commercials about it.
I don't even know if there was that much fear of Christians per se. Just I'm not really sure what the fear was, right?
Yeah.
Just more of a space for them to figure it out so that they could go in the world and then figure out when they felt comfortable to come out or talk
Yeah.
about it.
But so, I mean, there's an aspect of this that was kind of when this stuff started coming to light in, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, the peak woke
That was in
era, the peak
2015, by
anti.
the way. I just want to say this
Oh,
was in 2015, and this was before
okay.
trans was a thing.
Okay.
It was a slight thing, but it was not a
Yeah.
thing. In
But there,
fact, there was
yeah.
one trans kid in this school. It was a girl. She was obviously a girl. She didn't even like slightly pass. And the school didn't want her in the locker rooms with anybody. They set up a
Hmm.
separate locker room for her. Nobody expected to share a bathroom with her and with different sex. No one ever expected or believed that she was a boy. She just wanted to be called the boy name, which we did, which I regret now. But no one was pretending that this was actually, we would all believe that this is something. At the time we would call it complicated, or we'd say there are some challenges. No one just blatantly just said, you must affirm or this kid will die. Now,
Yeah.
I hadn't even heard that phrase until after I came out of disability. I hadn't heard the word affirm until I came out of disability.
Yeah.
All of that. So, yeah, so it wasn't, so the trans thing was not on my radar. This is more about like gay stuff, I guess.
Yeah. But
Even
the
still though, it's still bad. And I like it's like, oh, in hindsight, it's like, ugh, I feel horrible about it.
it's just it's interesting in this phenomena that we're discussing to see the inability or unwillingness of the progressive mind to contemplate second order negative effects of their actions. Like, you are setting up a secret meeting based around sexuality with minors. How is that not
Hmm.
facilitating grooming, sexual abuse that's then just covered up? You're creating explicitly sexualized places that are a
Yep.
black box. And what do you expect to happen? Like, what do you expect to happen? And why would you not even think that anything bad has happened? Because those
Because progressives are
progressive
naive and
lenses.
dumb. And social workers are dumb. And that's why, and I was
Hmm.
dumb. And that's, I think part of why I think I'm so outspoken is I feel like I need to atone for my sins.
For your retardation.
Yeah. And also I just want to tell you, I did write a Substack about this. Maybe I'll have you link it to the thing because I talked about
I'll in
what
the show
happened in the
notes.
process. Um, the group leader, he was a gay man. He was completely unskilled. He was terrible. The kids were all over the place, like kind of behaved like they had borderline personality disorder. I wouldn't diagnose them with that because they're teenagers and you don't want to do that. But a lot of
Hmm.
them, I believe, had some kind of trauma or attachment issues, all those things. The group completely fizzled out really quickly because it was dysfunctional, because these kids were just, they were kind of histrionic, attention seeking, all of those things. It wasn't about them being gay. It was about them having
Being
these
special.
being special and these emotion regulation problems and relationship problems, and they really should have gotten treatment for those things instead. The
Hmm.
group fizzled out pretty quickly, honestly.
That would, you know what, that would be the wise progressive that would set up like a secret gay meeting that was actually just about like borderline personality
Yeah.
disorder.
Like even
Just do
then,
a
and this
bait and
is even before
switch.
trans was thing. And
Yeah.
ironically, the one trans kid, she wasn't that histrionic. Her personality, her temperament was quite calm, and she didn't like that group. She didn't stay. We kept trying to
Hmm.
get her to be in it, right? And she didn't want to be. And I think that's the reason. She was kind of chill. It was
She
these
just wanted
like
to
drama
grow a
kids.
beard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I don't know how she turned out. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think she was taking hormones or anything at the time. I don't think that it was thought of to give a minor hormones then. I'm not sure.
Was there a moment post 2021 2022 when you don't get back to work where it just kind of all floods back to you, where this red pill kind of chain reaction, this critical
Oh, when the,
consciousness kind of just like where
it
you're
all
like,
flooded
wait,
in 2020.
all
Oh,
that, all
so
this stuff.
some people have that gradual awakening.
Yeah.
For me, it was like everything, literally everything. I, I gun rights, climate change. I mean, literally everything. Obviously the racism. I started feverishly reading Thomas Sowell, like economics, welfare state. I mean, every single thing, just the cascade just fell like
Nice.
completely. I lost my mind. Like
Wow.
most people get that gradually. Oh, because I've been now observing other people where they wake up on one topic, but then they're still kind of asleep on another, and then I
Yeah.
watch them gradually figure out
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
topic, right?
Yeah. Breadcrumbs.
But I didn't. It to me it
Just
was
diffuse.
everything.
Yeah.
I think my
How'd your
husband,
husband take that?
it's
Was
funny
he a little
because
annoyed because you just started
yes.
talking like,
Well, what's funny is I started to get noticed, right? He's like, "Oh, so all the things I've been telling you all this time, now you listen to Larry Elder and you won't listen to me?"
the black face of white supremacy
Yeah.
you'll
That
listen
was
to, but
before
not your
then.
husband.
We got very involved on the Recall Newsom campaign. In fact, there's a Recall Newsom documentary and there's a lot of footage in there that was I was the cameraman for.
Hmm.
I was very involved in
Camera
that.
person.
Yeah. Camera person. Yeah, I know. Now it's like everything. Um, so
Wow.
everything, like yeah, I realized all the things that Gavin Newsom had been doing, just everything. the fire safety stuff. I mean, we're talking everything. I don't.
Fire safety?
Oh, like the reason that California keeps burning down is because they don't clear out the brushes. They don't
For
fill the reservoirs.
environmental
Oh, the
reasons.
environmentalists, yeah, how the environmentalists ruin everything because there's a fish that they don't want to hurt in some stream, so then they won't build reservoirs to actually have water for the state, right? Everything.
Wow.
Oh no, I am red pilled up the wazoo. I just
Yeah.
talk about these issues because I feel like this is where I can make a difference with my background.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't
Hmm.
want to alienate
And I don't want
the
to alienate
part wave
people.
based. Yeah.
In fact, I even just got in a little mini Twitter spat with some like a prominent person in our side because she still very much believes in COVID vaccines. And I said, "Oh, you really fascinate me because you can see right through the gender lies and how big pharma benefits, but you don't see what happened with the COVID vaccine." And she just doubled down. I didn't, and it's somebody who I very much respect, honestly. I
Hmm.
just, but I just really, it's like I'm trying to be a little strategic
Well,
because
hold
it
on.
doesn't work. It
We're
doesn't.
deep enough in the episode that you probably won't be outed if you answer this question one way or the other. But did
Okay.
we land on the moon? America,
Oh
that
gosh.
is.
So yeah, I'm not that far in the conspiracy, but I'll just say this. I do believe that we did, but I could be talked out of it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Okay.
I actually believe that we did land on the moon. I'm not there. I'm not that
Okay.
far. Um, but I'm at the point where anything goes. Anything could go.
Yeah.
I don't trust anything, but
Hmm.
I don't have any evidence to believe that no, we didn't
Okay.
land on the
That's
moon.
that. Okay. You don't trust anything, but you do trust that men are men and women are women. You do
For
trust
sure.
that sex is real. How real is sex? Is sex determinate of emotion? Does it stop? Does Darwin stop here, or is there like a man brain and a woman brain, or is it
Oh
just a
yeah, there's
physical difference?
yeah,
What do
no
you?
one is born in the wrong body. There's
Yeah,
a man brain is in a man's body and that's it. A woman's brain is in a woman's body.
but
But I
when
actually
you
didn't
start
always think
to
about that stuff before, to be
yeah,
honest.
when you
Yeah.
start to question the gender theory, you also question the gender as a social construct, which comes from feminism, which is trying to state that men and women are basically interchangeable. They should be treated exactly the same and even conceived of as exactly the same, except
Yeah, I
for
don't
like some
believe in any of
secondary
that. That was part of that big
characteristics.
cascade that came through too.
Yeah.
Was,
So
oh my
how do
God, I was duped by
you?
feminism. I used to watch Sex in the City. I lived in New York City when it was popular. I used to
Yeah.
like think I was empowered by like, hanging out and going to clubs and living that fun life. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I was
so
never that much of a slut, to be honest.
okay. Well, wow. We were really getting deep in the
I was
episode.
not a slut,
Okay. Okay.
guys.
All
I
right.
wasn't a slut. But the
I
point
guess
is,
by
I
way of gender, but it could be
I've
any
never believed men
vector.
and women could be the same inherently. No, I
Yeah.
never believed that. But
But
I'm certainly more sensitive to things where they show the girl boss or I can't even watch a movie now where they show the woman like beat everybody up and win.
yeah,
It just
Gen
annoys
Z
me so
boss and a
much.
mini. You just
Yeah,
like yeah.
I actually,
All right.
I'll just turn it off. I'm like, even older ones, like, with Angelina Jolie,
Yeah.
like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's not even that recent. It's like, ugh, it just,
Yeah.
I have no
Power
patience
fantasy.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can suspend your disbelief, but it just got to the point where it's just not entertaining and it's annoying.
What is the positive? What's your positive belief system? One, I guess, of your intellect, there are certain people who have the capacity to live in a state of radical suspicion, radical skepticism, don't believe anything, are completely open minded in a critical way. But eventually we want some stability, we want some faith, some
Yeah.
grounding. How do you, where do you find yours, and or do you outsource that to your husband? You're like, you can just tell me what to
No,
believe
I
in.
don't outsource it to him. I mean, a lot of it is in just reality, like off screens,
Hmm.
and things, and because I'm older and I'm not a Gen Z, I have a frame of reference. So I think I do a lot of reaching back to the past of
What,
how,
1996 or
yeah, maybe,
1992?
I guess, yeah. Just how everybody, I mean, even like 2015 it was better in terms of
Yeah.
being grounded in reality. Even at high school, it was grounded in reality. They knew that girl wasn't a boy. They weren't going to force everybody to share a bathroom with her. They knew
Hmm.
that that was an unsafe scenario. So just I think I have enough of a frame of reference to be able to ground myself. But yeah, it's been difficult sometimes. I think that's why I started making those reels on Instagram to keep myself sane and put
Yeah.
myself out there to say like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what reality is.
Yeah.
There is a certain point where yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened to JFK. I don't know. I I believe that the I believe in the moon landing, but I could be talked out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe, but I
I'm
believe that it's
wondering about a
true.
transcendent or a metaphysical context, grounding
Like,
for yourself.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not sure. I guess I believe in science, some degree of science, not science studies though, not most
Hmm.
of them.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't want
but
to replicate that particular crisis.
yeah, I mean, not things that have you can see bias, but I think I have a critical eye and I can't know everything, but I think I at least can know that I have a critical eye. I think I'm also good at not knowing things.
Hmm.
I think I'm better at that than other people. I've noticed that.
Hmm.
I'm like people need answers like, "Oh, well how was the world created?" I don't know the answer to that, and I'm okay just sitting with that.
You're chill with that.
I can sit with that. I don't have the answer. I don't know if it was Big Bang Theory. I don't know if God created, I don't know. I'm okay with just I've always been like that. Well, we don't know the answers. And, we people used to believe that thunder and lightning was God. Now we know that's not the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
It's just
I think
we just don't
a
know.
pinch of the anxiety about ambiguity is a good fuel for the imagination, for ambition, and so on and so forth. But it's also the cause of a lot of these so-called mental health crises, like just
Yeah.
the inability to just be chill and not knowing things.
Yeah, I think I have that quality. I think I've lost some of it from being in this culture war. It's like I've
Mm,
noticed I'm not myself the way I used to be, but I know who I am though, that I am the person that doesn't freak out about everything all the time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I was a good therapist to begin with. I mean, this whole climate change thing, like how does that affect mental health? We're telling kids that the world's going to blow up in I don't know what the estimate now is, however many years. I mean,
Yeah.
how is that helping anybody?
My
And
wife
we
interacts with teenagers who are in particular states of acute distress mentally, and it seems like they focus on climate change and their sexuality. So they're hyper focused on their little tiny experience and the whole world experience, and they don't want to deal with, like, how do I become an adult? How do I
Yeah,
live in
it's a
the
good
world?
avoidance tactic.
Yeah, both
But
things.
what used to be, see, I guess is how I like to reflect back is adults. Even, I mean, I'll just say I have kind of a liberal mom who feels things deeply and not so chill. But even still, of a different time, right? I was raised in the 80s and
Yeah.
90s. Um, it used to be that the adults would ground the kids and say, it's okay. Like those are grown-up things. You don't have to worry about that. Like you're a child. Like here's something to play with, and like, what do you want to be when you grow up, and help you thrive and grow. And now the adults are like, worry about this, worry about that. You're not a good person unless you think about these existential crises
Mm-hmm.
24/7. And
Yeah.
so it's being induced into these children. So it just
Well,
really
there's
bothers me. That's my worry. If there's anything I ruminate on, it's
yeah,
what's how kids are being
yeah.
taught to worry.
I have kind of an optimistic outlook on whatever this generation Gen Alpha is. There was this MSNBC CNN tier protest called No Kings, and it seems like only Boomers and
Oh yeah,
Gen
that's
X showed up
true.
to it. Like the kids are just like,
You're lame. Yeah.
yeah. So it's no longer cool to be an activist, but maybe people are right to be afraid of the right wing because kids are more and more okay with certain forms of discourse that were outlawed or heavily shamed back in the day.
Yeah. Um, I hope so. There certainly has been a shift, and there certainly is a large cohort of people, of kids, young people who have figured this out. And I'm not just talking about the ones that are showing up to like Charlie Kirk's events, just in general.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so that is encouraging.
Are you satisfied with being a so-called content creator? I know books aren't technically content creation, but they basically are. Do you miss being a therapist, being
Oh,
invested
100%.
one on
Yeah.
one? Do you How are you going to bridge that? Do you have a inkling of?
Well, I've started writing more for human events, so the writing for an
Okay.
actual publication makes me feel a little better, like where it's a regular thing.
Hmm.
I'm actually because I can't really pick up a real job. I'm also am
Yeah.
enjoying. Things I am enjoying that am doing is I'm doing some consultations, one for families, and what I really enjoy is doing supervision for other clinicians. So I've been doing some of that,
What does that mean? You just
like
kind of
peer to
haunt.
peer, so
Okay.
that like
Oh, they come to you and they talk about their week, kind of thing.
they talk about like a case that they're struggling with and like kind of
Yeah.
pick my brain and we kind of
Oh, cool.
collaborate.
Oh, cool.
Um, and that's been I've been doing that peer to peer with a few people, and that I really enjoy that. I really miss my favorite job of all time was being a clinical supervisor to grad students or people who had
Hmm.
just graduated that are working on their license. And pre 2015, when everyone wasn't crazy, so the students were great, and
Hmm.
they respect, they are eager to learn, and not everything is social justice, right? They had
Yeah.
clinical skills and they were eager to learn more. So I
Is that
really enjoyed
industry
that.
effed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is now. Yeah, because the supervise, I get so many DMs. See, I can't really supervise someone who's inexperienced because there's a liability in that, and I can't do that remotely. I, if they have a patient that goes ahead and kills themselves and the family wants to sue, then I'm liable for
Mm.
that. So
Hmm.
is a little bit of it's tricky. People have
Wow.
asked me to want to do more of that, and I'm a little nervous about it. So I used to I worked for certain agencies, and then I'm under their umbrella, right? I'm protected by
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
insurance and their systems, and then also I'm just physically there to know better, right? I oftentimes I'll even be aware of or know the families that they're working with because I'll be on site with them. So like I was on site with the school, I knew the family, or I'd peripherally see them, or sometimes like I'd be a part of a session here and there, or I'd observe them. So I had a better idea. Whereas now I'm in a different state on Zoom talking to somebody, have to take their word for it, and then I might give them advice
Yeah.
that's not sound because I don't really know the story
All the
enough.
ins and outs, all the
Yeah.
contingencies. Yeah.
Um,
Wow. It's
I
like
mean,
that kind of work is like being a not quite a novelist, but an editor, like understanding like a story. Like you really
yeah.
have to, things are communicated to you through story, and you have to kind of fish out, does this add up? Does this not add up? Like what is not being said? What's not
And
being,
that's what a therapist does, a good one in general,
yeah, yeah,
right? They don't take everything for face value and
yeah,
like now let's
yeah,
affirm everything. And
yeah.
I'm talking even beyond gender. Let's take the kid's word at face value, which is just a crazy concept because I mean, what kids, even good kids, are going to know everything from face value. They're going to have a different perception of you need to talk to the kids. I did write a whole essay and a whole lesson on why parents need to be involved in therapy. And it's not just because of gender and those secrets. There's a lot of clinical reasons why.
Hmm.
So, well, you don't might not know the medical background. You might not know that when they were two, they weren't walking and talking, and that's important information. You might not know that behind the scenes, the parents are about to split up, but the kid actually hasn't gotten that information yet, and so that's why they
Mm.
might be acting out, and there might be some reasons why they're feeling uneasy, right? There's so many different reasons why, and then also you need to when there is a crisis, I mean, I don't know what, maybe nowadays it's so messed up that they're not doing this, but when there's a crisis, that is when you involve the parent, right? When you're really worried about the safety of this child, you call the parent, they come in, you're sending them to the hospital, and the parent has to sign off on that and get them there or like be a part of it, or they go on an ambulance, depending on how acute it is. Um, you don't want that to be the first time you meet the parent. You want to have some kind of
Mm.
connection with them.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
process will go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
It also inform you. Also, once you get to know the parent, I mean, people are like, well, there are these bad parents. We don't want to involve these bad parents. Well, that's ever the more reason why we involve them because we need to help those parents maybe
Yeah.
learn how to talk to their kids in a way that they might be able to hear them, and maybe you'll be a little more present, or not act a little so crazy, or maybe stop using some kind of drug, or um,
Yeah.
you need to help them. And it informs your work when you talk to the mom, and the mom like yells your ear off or is just awful, and you're like, oh. Now I can empathize with this kid. Now I know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
What got you involved in this?
hmm?
Like when you were a young lass deciding what she wanted to do, how did you gravitate towards this
I
field?
think I fell into it. Well, I took woke sociology classes in undergrad,
Yeah.
and then I ended up wanting jobs that working with kids and doing counseling, and all of those jobs required that master's degree in social work.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And
Yeah.
so I mean,
Social work. What is
I know social
so?
work
Okay.
now it's like, oh, I
Sociology is
hate
the
it now.
study of society or how to rule people. Philosophy is the study of thought. Geology is the study of geolos. What's social work? Is there like a definition of that? It's basically you work for the government to extract resources for yourself while kind of partially helping the government's citizens.
Yeah, of course, at the time I didn't think of it that way, and I don't think
Well,
most
how did
people
it
do.
present itself? Like,
Well,
what is the
it's so
definition of
I was
social
a
work?
clinical social worker,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
that is the one of the main degrees you get to be a therapist. I went to NYU, and they
Okay.
have like a focus on mental health and clinical work. My internships there were more social worky, I guess.
Okay, which is what? Like there's people in need of help and they go to a system and you are a provider through these various systems, public or private or
Yeah,
a
so
mixture of the two.
I worked for nonprofit. I didn't work for government, but I certainly helped link them to government programs or
Yeah.
help them
Okay.
get government assistance.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that was in the late 90s when Clinton was president, and that was when he was implementing this welfare to work program. I don't know if you remember that.
And I
So
don't
I, as a social worker, was helping them find work so that they could wean off,
function.
actually. So that's
Yeah.
actually what I was doing, not knowing. Maybe I was even a conservative then. I didn't even know it. But I didn't think about the implications of the welfare state and how that's destroyed families and pulled the father out. I learned that later in my little cascade of red pilling,
Hmm.
how that's really harmed, mostly black families, but really any family that's been on public assistance.
Do you think back in the day there was
Mm,
this kind of conglomerate of church and state and they divvied up power. I'm talking like medieval times. They divvied up power, they divvied up responsibilities. The state was or the kings were involved in ruling a certain level of society and then the church did the so-called social work and the real human events of birth, marriage, and death. That's probably the only human events that actually should make it in a magazine called Human Events. But I'm sure there's a lot more that happened between there. But the church was involved in that, and then the church and the state were so-called they were split. But now the government does everything. The government does
yeah,
all the stuff, up to and including what you should believe and how you should believe. Right?
true.
Which that's the final line for us classical liberals, us 90s liberals, and what causes us to red pill is that, well, the government's just supposed to do all this stuff that the church does, but not tell me what to think. But then you're like, oh, that it can't just do one thing. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if you were to be given a certain amount of absolute power, how you would fix this social work problem. Would you divvy up the responsibility? Would you kind of make incentives so that like these other groups, like who fills the role of this social work? Do you still think that there's a need for social work, and who should be providing that?
I think there is still a need for social work, but not in the way it's done now. I think it's challenging. If I had the power to undo things now, I'd have to put a lot of thought into it, because our culture has shifted so much to relying upon government
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
if we rip the Band-Aid off at this point, I think that will do more damage. I think that in the long run, it'd be better without any of it, but I
Hmm.
don't think we can just take it away. I think we were headed in the right direction in the 90s with Clinton doing that welfare to work thing, and that to wean people off and to give people the message that this isn't permanent, and
Hmm.
that if they're able-bodied especially, that they should not rely on the government for all of their health care and housing and food. I don't think those are good messages. I think that we need to strengthen families more. I think fathers, men need to be more empowered more. I think there's so much to be done within the culture before we can just rip this Band-Aid
Okay.
away.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, and that leads you back to where we started
yeah,
with your book, which is a cultural project.
it's the cultural. Yeah, so I guess that's where it's like my little piece of my little contribution because I can't work a normal job and it's true. You really did nail it. Like I don't feel I hate thinking of myself as a content creator. I don't really want to be. I'm not someone that likes to be public facing. My mom was really shocked to see me on stage because that really isn't my temperament. I see a lot of our peers that are just thriving. They just love it, right? Put me on
Yeah.
stage, put me on the microphone, get me on the news. And I've done a lot of that. It looks like I might be enjoying it to somewhat to the naked eye, but it's not really who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was doing it kind of because I had to because of my position being the fact that I uh, was not, I had less to lose and all. But yeah, I wrote this book. I actually have it here. I'll hold it up.
Okay, good.
It's called
Is it
Froggy
a bunch of
Girl.
different vignettes like a Mother's
It's a
Goose, or is it
rhyming. No,
is it
it's one
one
story.
narrative? Okay.
One story. I could read part of it to you.
Yeah, could you do a little reading?
I could do a little reading. So
Yeah.
the artist is Nicholas Blooms. He is a detransitioner. He's a man. He used to believe he was a woman trapped in a man's body. He does not believe that anymore by at all. Um, and he's wonderful. He was with me at that conference where we were kicked out, and amazing how well he could reach those doctors. A lot of these detransitioners that have come forward, their temperament, their communication styles.
They're
It really,
phenomenal.
it really is.
Some of
Yeah,
them are
so
whack-doodle,
special.
but a lot of them are very special.
Yeah. So I
Just like
really
all of
respect
us.
him. Yeah. So it has a dedication, and this book is dedicated to my loving mom and dad, who taught me that I never have to be anything or anyone other than myself. And that's true. So I was raised on free to be you and me. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a bunch of butch kids and feminine boys,
Totally.
just like, playing
Yeah.
hockey and getting
Right.
dressed in skirts and having a
Yeah.
hootenanny.
There was like the William Wants a Doll skit where there was like a boy who liked to play with dolls, and the moral of that story was he'll turn into a great father one day, and it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Okay, so just to show the
Wait,
illustration.
for the listeners, she just took off her glasses. You just took
I
off your glasses
I took off my glasses. These are glasses are to see
to read.
far, but I can't read
Okay.
with them on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like farsighted with them on. So it's easier. I could read with them, but then I didn't want to be like all weird, so I took
Yeah.
them off. Okay. There once was a girl who said she was a frog, not a chicken, cow, cat, or dog. She knew how to hop, so it had to be true. Being a frog seemed right. What else could she do? Her parents even gave her frog feet, which she thought were neat. Her teacher gave her a special flag, and the girl was so glad. Her friends thought it was strange, but they wanted to be nice, even if it meant there would be a price.
Hmm.
She tried to make frog sounds, but that was hard. She went swimming with the other frogs and didn't get far. The girl began to doubt, but all agreed she was a frog, so she couldn't back out.
Mm.
And I love this page is like my favorite. I really feel like Nick understood the emotions of that no other
Yeah.
artist would really understand.
Hmm.
She felt sad and alone because she couldn't catch a fly. That's when she realized she was living a lie. In a state of confusion, she went for a walk, wishing for a friend with whom she could talk. There's a little turtle in the picture here. When she reached the river, she met a wise turtle with a great bumpy shell. He said, "You can't be a frog, no matter how many people you tell." He reminded her that it's wonderful to be a girl. She can sing and dance and even do a twirl. The little girl learned to love the way God made her, beautiful and smart and full of fervor. And that's the end. This is the last
Oh,
page, which is my favorite drawing. I feel like it's a real
that's
work of
so
art.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
wonderful.
And then he did a little page of us at the end, meet the creators, and he drew me and he drew himself. You can see that. And this little he I didn't prompt this, he did this. So I'm definitely gonna give Nick credit. He put this little Joseph Campbell quote. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. With this little art and a little froggy and flowers. So and I even love these little title pages, little froggy heads on it. So
That's really
cute.
pretty. It's really, really
Yeah.
pretty. I'll link it in the description. You'll have to send me the images so I can put them on the screen
Yeah.
as you read. It's such a beautiful aesthetic experience.
It's so his art really blew me away. Yeah, so it seems serendipitous, right? Because I was gonna use that stupid fiber artist. They flaked on me and then I connected with Nick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my glasses back on. Ta-da!
Well, Pamela, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We had one before there was technical difficulties or something or another. It was a while
Yeah,
ago.
your internet went out.
Oh
It
yeah,
kept
yeah.
going
I
in and
guess.
out, and then my dog wanted to go in and out. Not the
Yeah,
one that died, actually, the other
yeah,
one.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then yeah, it was difficult. So I'm glad this worked out. Hopefully, I don't sound too bad as I was choking up in the beginning of our conversation.
I'm really sorry about your loss,
Thank you.
but you get to get a puppy, so there's
Eventually, I'm
that.
definitely not
Yeah,
ready right now. Thinking
yeah,
about maybe a kitten. I think I
yeah,
might be able to handle a kitten, but not a puppy.
yeah.
We
Me
have
and
another
Leslie are
cat.
talking about getting a kitten
Yeah.
to celebrate our new house.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, that's why I'm in the darkness because this is a
Yeah.
total mess behind me.
Okay. We'll give you a rainbow brick background.
We'll see. I'm gonna play around with it.
Nah,
See. I'm gonna change my studio this
not your
time, but I kind of like
style.
that. No, no, no. Every once in a while, I do have a rainbow cap and my Apple T-shirt and stuff. But Pamela, I'll link to all the places where people can find you. But where can they find you, and what are they going to find when they get there?
Okay. Well, I have a website which I need to update, but it's thetruthfultherapist.org. My the Froggy Girl is on froggygirlbook.com. Excuse me, I'm on Instagram as the.truthfultherapist. I'm on X or Twitter, I still want to call it Twitter, at
Yeah, I call it
Truth
Twitter.
Therapist. And I have a Substack, which is Pam the Truthful Therapist.
You're so
Those are the
busy.
main places to find me, yeah.
Such a busy, busy bee.
So I do a lot. Get paid for some a little sometimes, but it
Yeah,
really not. It just keeps me sane for the most part. People want to say, it'd be much easier to just have a regular job. I'll say that.
yeah, yeah. Would you have any plans for the summer?
Um, Not really. I'm doing a little bit of traveling. We actually just got a little lake house nearby, so we're gonna hang out at the lake house.
Nice. Is there
Yeah.
mosquitoes out there, or
There
pretty
are
chill?
mosquitoes, but they're everywhere. They're no worse there than
Yeah.
anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I
All right.
miss. I used to live in California, and now I live actually in Georgia, and I miss there's a lot more bugs
Oh,
here. We
yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
used to have so many bugs in California.
Yeah. Yeah. The boomers killed them all with their chemicals. Well, actually, that would be the greatest generation. Brought out
Yeah,
the
and I think it's
DDT
the
or whatever it
climate.
was. Yeah. Or the climate. Yeah. Yeah. We're in Spokane now. It's a totally different climate than the Pacific Northwest. Both of us
Oh,
are adjusting to it's drier and more spread out. It's really pretty. There's something here. I'm really enjoying the move. I think we made the right decision, but
good for
time will
you.
tell,
I'm really
right?
happy for you and for everything. You
Yeah.
guys are like a power couple.
We are a power couple.
Yeah.
Powerade couple. All right, Pamela, I'm going to wrap up the recording. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for your
You're
time, and
welcome.
I'll
Thank
link to your
you.
work down in the description so people
Thank
can
you
check
so
it out.
much. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. There we go.